Oh, they didn't even try to take it off. I feel like that's gonna be really satisfying. There was over 500 people there. What is up, guys? So I have no idea what video this is going in, so it may be super random that I've situated it wherever it is, but I got some books in the mail, and I've been wanting to keep you guys updated with my Reading Around the World challenge, and so I've been buying a book on eBay because I've been thrifting them, just because it's going to be like, I don't know, like 195 books by the time I get to the end of this challenge, so I'm saving some money by going to eBay and different like thrifting websites, but I've been buying like 1 or 2 books a week, maybe. I've been spending less than like $5 on each one. I just got 2 in the mail, and I'm pretty sure they are for Sweden and Colombia. I could be wrong. The skinny one here, I'm pretty sure is for Sweden. Book bandage. Oh. So we have a little book bandage on there, but that's still kind of annoying to me. I may have to take both of them off. Oh, they didn't even try to take it off. It's gonna come off so easy. Okay, maybe not so easy. Okay, that's not that bad. I can easily fix that. Anyway, this is Tove Jansson. Tove Jansson. Could totally be butchering it. I'm gonna have to look up how to say it. It is called The Summer Book. So I wanna say it's about a girl who goes to live with her grandma, and it's obviously summertime, which is why I was very excited to read it during the season. And then I want to say there's like a winter one as well. It says, an elderly artist and her 6-year-old granddaughter while away a summer together on a tiny island in the Gulf of Finland. Gradually, the two learn to adjust to each other's fears. Whims and yearnings for independence, and a fierce yet understated love emerges, one that encompasses not only the summer inhabitants, but the island itself, with its mossy rocks, windswept firs, and unpredictable seas. Oh, it says it's kind of like semi-autobiographical. It says, the author captured much of her own experience and spirit in the book, which was her favorite of the novels she wrote for adults. I love anything that focuses kind of on nature, like when nature is not necessarily part of the plot, but it sort of surrounds the characters, and it almost feels like another character itself in the book, and so I feel like that's kind of maybe the vibe of this one, so we shall see. And then we have this chunk right here. I don't actually remember. Oh no, I think I do. Okay, so here's the deal. For Colombia, I had started reading 100 Years of Solitude. I didn't realize all the characters are basically named like the same thing, but like a different variation, or like the same names but in like a different order. And I love the like sort of folk tale feel of the prose, but there is something about it that I've been struggling with. I posted on Instagram, like, should I finish it? Should I DNF it? Like, it's such a classic. I mean, it won a Nobel Prize for literature, like, and most of you said to keep going, but I think I'm gonna DNF it. There's so much about Colombian history that I feel like I keep hearing about, but I don't really know, I don't know anything about it. I just kind of realized maybe I should read a nonfiction for Colombia instead of fiction. I made it like 50 pages into 100 Years of Solitude. I don't know, it just wasn't for me. And I'm trying to not feel guilty about it because I know it's so incredibly famous. It's like such an incredible piece of literature. I can appreciate it for like what it is. I ended up reading 100 pages. And I still just was not, it just didn't, I don't know, something about it didn't grip me. I can always go back to it in the future. But what I have chosen for Colombia instead is another large book, even though I told myself I was going to try to read short books for this challenge so it doesn't take me like 10 years to complete, is Magdalena, River of Dreams, A Story of Colombia by Wade Davis. There is a horrible reflection because apparently this is a rejected library copy. Should we cut it off together? I feel like that's going to be really satisfying. So I have cut these off before, and you can usually do it without damaging the book too bad. So let's see. It's just like the clear part. So it's been a little bit, but I did succeed. So she is free of all the clear whatever that stuff is. Yeah, I did accidentally bang her up a little bit, but you know what? That's okay. The jacket is glued on, so I can't take it off, which I realize now is gonna drive me insane. Well, maybe it won't slip off though, because it's glued on. Normally it's so annoying when they start to fall off, and so I just take, like when I'm reading it, I actually take the jacket off. This is normally why I buy paperbacks, but for whatever reason, maybe this was like this was cheaper, the hardback was cheaper, I don't know. It's a nice copy. It's got deckled edges, which I do love. It's nearly 400 pages, so I'm hoping that I like it better. Wade Davis, the author, he was a National Geographic explorer in residence, whatever that means. It sounds really cool and adventurous. It says by telling the story of the river, it illuminates Colombia's complex past, present, and future. So it says travelers often become enchanted with the first country that captures their hearts and gives them license to be free. For Wade Davis, it was Colombia. Now in this masterly book, Davis tells of his travels on the mighty Magdalena, the river that made possible the nation. Along the way, he finds a people who have overcome years of conflict precisely because of their character, informed by an enduring spirit of place and a deep love of a land that is home to the greatest ecological and geographical diversity on the planet. Only in Colombia can a traveler wash ashore in a coastal desert, follow waterways through wetlands as wide as the sky, ascend narrow tracks through dense tropical forests, and reach verdant Andean valleys, rising to soaring ice-clad summits. This rugged and impossible geography finds its perfect coefficient in the topography of the Colombian spirit. Restive, potent, at times placid and calm, in moments explosive and wild. The Magdalena has served in dark times as the graveyard of the nation, and yet always it returns as a river of life. I really hope it's written in a sort of semi-autobiographical way. I always find like historical biography, I mean it's not a biography, but I always find books that have to do with the history of a nation, or like books that are passing along some type of knowledge. If the writer really puts a lot of their self into the writing and into the story, it really gives it heart, and so I'm able to follow along a lot easier because of that. So I'm hoping that that's kind of how this is. I have no idea. I don't even think I looked at reviews for that one, for either of them. So I don't know. We're kind of flying blind. Hopefully they go okay. So I forgot my external mic, so the audio on this clip is probably going to be pretty trash. But I'm on my way to a local library to see Michelle Zauner talk about her book Crying in H Mart, which I read I think last year, like mid last year, something like that. Boyfriend was going to come, but he's got school to do. He's taking Spanish classes, and I think this is his last like chapter or last course or whatever, but he's on like a deadline, like he has to get it done by midnight or whatever, and he's got a lot of work to do, so he is not coming with me. I was hoping to have him like get a picture of me signing, or like her signing, so I'm hoping the footage like turns out okay. Usually how it works, because I used to work at a bookstore for like 3 years, we did a few signings, not a lot. Workers at the bookstore will usually, like, we would take the person's phone and then take a whole, like, just spam the button and take a whole bunch of photos for them. So I'm hoping that's what they do and I get a photo with her. I think that would be so cool. I loved the book. It's something similar, like what her mom goes through. It's different than what my mom went through, but like very similar. The main difference was like her mom, they didn't find it until her cancer until it was like stage 4, and my mom had her blood work done early enough that they like caught it, like, you know, she was able to like go through treatment and she like never lost her hair. Book definitely had an impact on me because I just kept hoping that it wasn't like gonna be my story, like where I was, you know, something that I would experience. So I am very excited.
You know, the doctors definitely did not advise us to take a 14-hour trip to Seoul, and you know, you have to take the chance, and sometimes it ends poorly, and so my mom got... Oh, great, yeah, let me tell you the most vulnerable story at the top of my lungs. Yeah, my mom got very sick and was like in a hospital the entire time that we were there, and it was so heartbreaking, and it was not a time I wanted to revisit at all. Just, watching her lose all hope and grace and, faculty, and I didn't want to go there, and it was really difficult to remember everything that had happened because I had really blocked it off. And so it just took a long time of like writing it, crying, leaving, walking away for months at a time, and returning to it over and over. But in the same breath, like that was where like a lot of like the real craft of writing sort of came in, and I learned a lot about where to go and when you're challenged by not having memory of something. And so it was a lot of like asking myself these questions, like what happened in the 2 hours when they said your mom might be put on a ventilator, and you went out with your dad and you came back and she was suddenly fine, well enough for us to travel the next week back to the States. And yeah, I mean, you have to ask yourself these questions, like what was the weather like? What were you wearing? What did it smell like? What did you hear? And like, you learn to kind of dive in your memory with these details, and then you start painting like the emotional landscape onto these kinds of details. And I learned a lot about writing in the most sort of difficult chapters to tackle. It was just a lot of returning to them over and over again. Yeah, they weren't really into music. We didn't listen to much music in my household, and I remember, I think I was like 13 or something when I was like, I want to be into music now. And I requested like all of the albums that you think like being into music, like Janis Joplin, like Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, like, all these like classic rock albums that I didn't really have any business like getting into at the time, but I was like, this is true music. And then I would say around like 16 or so, I started kind of creating, like forging my own like real interests that weren't like based on what I thought like objectively was good. And so I grew up in the Pacific Northwest in Oregon, and there's like a really rich like indie rock history of like dynamic guitar music. And so I listened to a lot of like Built to Spill and Modest Mouse and Elliott Smith, and I was also really interested in like these lo-fi DIY bands from K Records, which is based out of Olympia, like Mount Erie and Kenya Dawson. And those people kind of made me, were sort of like some of the first musicians that made me feel like I could do that. Like their voices aren't objectively that great, and there's like a lot of sort of like talking over very simple chords, and that was like really exciting to me that you could have a bad voice and make music, and it was still compelling in this like sort of bizarre, interesting way. And yeah, that was like the biggest. It was like 16 when I started writing my own songs, and I just fell in love not only with writing and how like self-important that made me feel, but I also just like loved. I was like such a nerd about the whole industry of it, of just like making flyers in MS Paint and like tagging them all over, and like emailing local venues to like let me open for artists that I like, or booking shows and like forcing all my friends to come to open mics. I just like loved like how I don't know, like the entrepreneurial like element of it, and I just fell really deeply in love with that world and that community, and have always like felt very attached to it.
Alright guys, I just got out. I had to stand in line for like literally an hour, I think. There was over 500 people there. I overheard one of the workers like talking to another worker, and she was like, well, I stopped counting at 509. It was intense. We weren't allowed to take pictures, and nobody was standing there to like take our phone to take pictures for us with her. She was super sweet and funny and awesome. And anyway, the last time I would have done or like been at a book signing was when I was working like a book signing. So that was, I think, the first one that I've ever been to where I was just a spectator and like in the crowd and getting my own book signed. So yeah, I'm really tired. Just standing there walking like an inch forward every minute is kind of tiring. I'm gonna head home now. I will see you guys in the morning.
12 seconds later.